Shove it, man! You know, brother, the Hawk always listens to the fans, dude. I was walking down Bridgewater Boulevard the other night, got a steakhouse, medium rare, not tough like titties on a turtle, when I heard a whisper in the air. There were 3 words, dude, that were shaking me from my beak to my tail feather. And those 3 words were Monday Night War. Over and over again, Jack, like a panic attack. I just couldn't shake them, no matter how many women I took to my mountaintop nest. I tried to block it out. I buried my head in their wings. So I guess I've got no choice but to listen to the Hawkamaniacs, brother, and cover the final episode of TNA versus WWE Monday Night War, dude. Alright, enough messing around. I'm going to keep this intro short and thick like my taste in women. I know that nobody's going to watch this video because my views have fallen off a cliff. And I also know that this video is going to get battered with copyright. If I've learned from my mistakes, more screenshots instead of a video for the WWE shows. They're so sensitive, bless them. So shh, don't tell them. Last week TNA got completely crushed in the ratings and got a 0.5, which was a complete embarrassment. This is the final episode of the 2010 TNA Monday Night Wars, because Spike TV and TNA realised that they were getting battered in the ratings. Let's see why it was so bad. Oh, and by the way, if I see a single comment saying, "You stole this idea from that Scottish wrestling YouTube channel guy," shut up or I'll smack you one. This series started 2 years ago. Jesus, is that how long I've taken to finish this? I think someone needs to smack me one. As it's the last show, let's start out with Monday Night Raw. So it's the first Raw since the 2010 draft. Batista comes out to start the show. He is the #1 contender after beating Sheamus and Randy Orton with help from Edge last week. Batista gets on the mic and moans about losing to Cena at Extreme Rules in a last man standing match. Batista says Cena cheated because he sellotaped Batista to the ring and he couldn't beat the 10 count. The crowd all chant "Wiener." Batista and Cena will be competing in a beat the clock challenge tonight. The winner will choose the next pay-per-view stipulation match. The Great Red comes out to interrupt Batista and he brags that he beat Triple H at Extreme Rules. Sheamus says it's not fair that he's not in the championship match. He does have a fair point. Sheamus challenges Batista to a #1 contendership match tonight, but Batista tells Sheamus no and tells Sheamus to leave, so he does. Up next, Batista, who is still in the ring, will be taking on The Miz in a beat the clock challenge. The US champion comes out with a mic and says that he can't fight tonight because he's got a doctor's note after he got punched by the Big Show. He's got a giant letter that says doctor's note on it. Miz says Batista can face his NXT rookie instead, and Bryan comes out. Bryan says that he's going to make Batista tap out. Batista tries to powerbomb him straight away, but Bryan rolls through into a pin, but he only gets a 2. Bryan then tries to get the submission on Batista, so Batista gets out of it and then chills on the outside of the ring. Back in the ring, Batista starts bashing him in the corner and throws him left, right and centre. Bryan then tries to get a submission on Batista, so Batista launches him overhead. Batista then splits Bryan in half with a clothesline, but Bryan kicks out of this. Bryan then kicks Batista in the head and tries to mount some offense, but Batista kicks him in the head. Bryan then knocks Batista down and puts him in the crossface, but Batista makes the ropes. Bryan then stupidly starts to celebrate, so Batista hits the spear and then powerbombs him for the 3. Batista set the time at just over 5 minutes. Batista is really embarrassed and then powerbombs him again. And then he hits a 3rd Batista bomb, and then he leaves. With the time set, Cena will have to beat Jericho in less than 5 minutes and 6 seconds. That doesn't really seem fair. The guest host tonight is Wayne Brady, and in proud tradition with this series, I have no idea who he is. Let's find out what's happening with TNA. The show starts out with Eric Bischoff promoting to vote for the #1 contender for the world title. Yeah, that was such a great idea, it was truly revolutionary. I'm being sarcastic if you can't tell. Eric and the Hawk are in a limo talking about someone defecting and joining TNA. Hawk also says that he's going to give Ric Flair's Hall of Fame ring away to somebody tonight. The Idiot Abyss won it in a weird match last week against Flair. They also talk about how much they hate Sting. Hawk says he's going to call Sting out tonight. At the arena, Tenay announces that Dixie Carter has listened to the fans and that TNA is being moved back to Thursday nights. Yeah, because they listened to the fans and it wasn't anything to do with the fact they were getting their asses kicked in the ratings. Flair comes out to start the show. I bet he's not in a good mood. Wait a minute, that's not Flair, it's Jay Lethal. He seems to have Flair's Hall of Fame ring. Hang on, how does he have the Hall of Fame ring? Hogan was in a limo a moment ago with the Hall of Fame ring. How does Jay Lethal have it now? Before you all get excited, this isn't the famous woo-off segment, although it's close. Jay Lethal has been completely worthless on this show, and he's just been appearing in segments with the Hawk and Bischoff to talk about wrestlers from the 80s. I wonder what he's got to say. He starts doing a brilliant Flair impression as the audience goes nuts. He suddenly starts threatening people in the audience, and then he takes his jacket off and attacks it. He calls someone in the audience Fat Boy. Flair then comes out, but he's not in his pushchair. Flair tells Lethal he's stood in front of God and accuses Lethal of disrespecting him. Lethal starts panicking and apologises and gives Flair the Hall of Fame ring back. The crowd chant "You suck" at Lethal. Lethal says that standing with Flair is his proudest moment of his career, and he talks about how great Flair is. Flair thanks him for giving the Hall of Fame ring back, and then he slaps him. Flair really starts slapping Lethal more and more as he turns into a squashed tomato. Lethal slaps him back and they start fighting. Lethal then puts the figure 4 leg lock on, but Fortune run out to protect Flair, and they beat Lethal down. The Idiot Abyss tries to make the save, but Fortune beat him down too. Team 3D then run out. I'm not sure what they've got to do with any of this. They've done nothing since feuding with the band. No Job Rob, the TNA World Champion, runs out with a chair, and Fortune bail. In a limo somewhere else, the Hawk and Eric are saying that the driver needs to turn the car around because something's gone wrong. I have no idea what they're on about. No Job Rob and his cronies are still in the ring, and they challenged the 4 horses' asses to a fight. This is Fortune before Kazarian came on board, so it's Desmond Wolfe instead. So it's better? They all start fighting again because they don't like each other very much. The Hawk's music then hits. How did he get to the arena so suddenly? He takes out Bobby Roode with one punch. Desmond Wolfe then runs at him and he sends him flying like a Mortal Kombat fatality. Storm and AJ then also get knocked out by the Hawk. Flair and the Hawk then square off and the Hawk chucks him over the top rope. The Hawk says that TNA is the best thing going today. He puts Desmond Wolfe in a match against No Job Rob for the title tonight. This is actually where Desmond Wolfe had won the TNA fan poll, where he was voted to get a shot for the TNA world title. But they completely undersell it. They don't mention that Wolfe actually won the poll. The backstory is that the Hawk wanted Abyss to win the fan poll, but he came dead last and now he's sulking. Wolfe proved how popular he was with the fans who wanted to see him get a shot. You will see just what Hogan thought of Wolfe a bit later on in this show. Hogan says that the X Division champ AJ can fight Abyss in a Monsters Ball match tonight. I'm pretty sure Kazarian is the champion. What is he on about? Did he mess up, or is that just his personal opinion on Styles? He also says that the Motor City Machine Guns, Beer Money and Team 3D will have a match tonight. Damn, this is going to be a good show. Sting is shown sulking in the rafters. Sting has sworn that he'll break his silence tonight. Well, it's about time. We all wonder what the hell he's on about. The beautiful people are backstage acting like porn stars and saying that their backs are hurting. The tag titles and the knockouts titles will be on the line tonight in one match. Lacey is acting like an idiot. Let's check out Raw. Eve is being photographed. She then meets Wayne Brady, the guest host. Maurice then attacks her. What was the point? Edge is walking backstage talking to a nerd about the return of his Talking Edge segment tonight. The nerd says that they can't use any of the previous footage because of the PG kids. Edge says that he's rated R and doesn't like PG, and the crowd cheer. He says it's time to start an era of controversy, and he will start this with Orton tonight. I bet this got a lot of WWE fans excited in 2010. Ted DiBiase Jr. is out next. He tried to make R-Truth to be the new Virgil last week, but Truth slapped him instead. Ted DiBiase talks about Truth being poor and from the streets. He said Truth could do with some money when his WWE career is over. A decade later, I think it's the other way round, Ted. John Morrison is the opponent tonight for some reason. Morrison kicks him in the face and batters him. On the outside, Morrison hits a springboard axe handle. Seemed a bit excessive. Ted walks off and tries to leave. The referee goes to count him out, but Morrison then begs him to come back. After some deliberation, Ted agrees to come back under the stipulation that if Ted wins the match tonight, Morrison will have to be his Virgil. Why would he agree to that? Why would he be so desperate to face him? DiBiase keeps getting close pins until Morrison finally fights back with a kick to the face. Morrison then tries to do some high flying, but DiBiase cuts him off. DiBiase then hits a power slam and a clothesline. DiBiase then tries to hit his Dream Street finisher, but Morrison reverses it into a pin and gets the 3. The shine has truly come off Ted at this point. He tries to attack Morrison after the match, but R-Truth comes out to make the save. Truth and Morrison have been a makeshift tag team recently. Damn, I wanted to see Morrison be his Virgil, just because these two would have been such an odd couple. Wiener is out next, and the little kids go nuts. Chris Jericho comes out next looking like a urinal. He brings a mic with him and says that he can't be bothered to face Cena tonight. Well, at least he's honest. He says that instead of him, he will send Wade Barrett in his place. It's nice to see some different faces on this show. Cena desperately tries to pin Barrett early on. Cena then hits the attitude adjustment over the top and slams Barrett into Chris Jericho on the outside. Jericho then gets involved and throws Cena into the announce table. Wade Barrett is all over Cena and almost puts him away of a clothesline. Barrett then puts a submission on with 2 minutes left on the clock. Cena fights out of it, but Barrett kicks him in the face. Lots of people get kicked in the face tonight. Barrett then hits a backbreaker for another 2. Just 40 seconds left on the clock, and Cena randomly gets a submission on Barrett and taps him out with 30 seconds left to spare. Cena gets the mic and goes to announce what type of match he will have with Batista at the pay-per-view. Sheamus then appears out of nowhere, and guess what he does? He kicks Cena in the face. You better hope he has dental insurance. Let's get back to TNA. Back on TNA, in the ring is Bryan Kendrick with Douglas Williams for some reason. Have you ever seen two such random people hanging around together? Douglas is on the mic complaining because when the Iceland volcano erupted, he was stripped of his title because he missed one pay-per-view. Douglas says he doesn't want to be in a tag match with Bryan Kendrick because he's a crazy lunatic and he's just stating facts. Douglas challenges Kazarian to a match at the pay-per-view and says he won't give the title back till Kaz has beaten him. I love Williams on the mic, he always cracks me up every time. The opponents tonight are a couple of Mohawk guys. One of them just so happens to be Jeff Hardy's stoner friend. He teamed up with Jesse Neal last week because they both have tattoos and mohawks. Apparently Hogan has given these guys a tag title shot due to their problems with Matt Morgan. Morgan is the sole tag team champion and is out to do commentary. Last week he cried and cowered in fear as the Hawk threatened him. He's a complete joke. The Hawk will be picking Morgan's partner for the match. Jesse Neal is getting battered and Kendrick tries to mess up Jesse Neal's mohawk. Jeff Hardy's stoner friend eventually gets in the ring and beats everybody up, but we all just wish Williams would hit him with a brick again. Williams ditches Kendrick during the match. Shannon then hits the Morgasm, and Jesse Neal hits a spear and they pin Bryan Kendrick. Not sure how I'd rate the Jesse Neal spear. Williams comes back and slaps Kendrick. Samoa Joe then randomly comes out and he beats both guys up for no reason at all, because he's a dick I guess. He puts Bryan Kendrick in the ring and hits him with a huge muscle buster. Samoa Joe looks like Kim Jong-un here. Tenay asks who abducted Joe several months ago. It was the ninjas, Tenay, we all know that. Samoa Joe gets on the mic but changes his mind and then leaves. Backstage in the Fortune dressing room, Flair is giving Fortune a hard time for getting beaten up earlier. Flair takes Storm's beer away and the crowd boo. Flair says that even though RVD is high, Desmond Wolfe will have to concentrate in his match with him tonight. He says that he hopes Wolfe gives it as hard as he gives it to his manager Chelsea. Somewhere else backstage, the Hawk is talking about how hard his life is and all the problems he has. He then starts talking about Sting and says that he wants to know why Sting attacked Dixie Carter like 8 weeks ago. Guess he had more important things to worry about until now. Hogan says that he'll get the answers from him tonight, from the man with the big black bat. Taz again acknowledges that Desmond Wolfe did well in the fan poll, but doesn't actually say that he won. Backstage, Mr. Anderson is dressed like a padre in a dress and is attacking the Pope and spitting on him. He steals the Pope's sunglasses. It's really all been downhill for the Pope since they changed their mind about him beating AJ for the world title in lockdown. Mr. Anderson has just finished up feuding with Kurt Angle, and Kurt's taking some time off. Mr. Anderson comes out to the ring looking wacky. He starts mocking the Pope and preaching to the congregation. Don't you just miss wrestling being fun like this? The crowd start furiously chanting for the Pope. He's randomly interrupted instead by Jeffrey Nero Hardy. Jeff calls the Pope his good friend. What? I'm pretty sure these two have never interacted in their lives. Hardy says that the Pope can't compete because of Anderson, who starts sarcastically crying. Anderson's funny. Nero challenges Anderson to a match at the Sacrifice pay-per-view. What a random reason to start up a feud. They're feuding over a guy that neither of them have previously interacted with. The crowd chant for Mr. Anderson to take his dress off. Anderson says that he doesn't want to fight Nero and pretends to leave, but then he tries to sneak attack Nero, but he gets nailed with the twist of fate. Nero starts to strip Anderson, who for some reason is wearing Y-fronts saying talk into this. What the hell? Available on shoptna.com, it's the Don West Brown Bag Special. Nero impersonates Anderson and accepts the challenge for a match from him. I'm not sure that's quite how it works, Jeff. Taylor Wilde, Sarita and Tara are in the ring. They'll be taking on the beautiful people with all the gold on the line. Tara isn't really getting on with her tag team partners and spits at them. Sarita tries to start doing Lucha Libre with Velvet, but it doesn't work. She then starts working with Taylor Wilde, her tag team partner. Madison gets the tag, but Taylor Wilde nails her with the German suplex. Tara then tags herself in, and then Sarita tries to tag herself in, so Tara says, "Shut up or I'll smack you one." Tara then batters Taylor Wilde. The beautiful people then hit a double DDT on Taylor Wilde and pin her. It went for about 30 seconds and it wasn't very good. What were you expecting? Back to Raw. Maurice is out next and she will be taking on Nikki Bella. Well, she sort of did. It was over in about 30 seconds after Maurice hit the French kiss. The beautiful people may be all over the TNA shows, but the TNA knockouts were still better than the Divas at this time. Maurice gets on the mic and says that she needs to show her new photo shoot called Maurice Looking Sexy. I bet this got a few eyes on the screen. It's actually just Maurice posing with the belt over Eve's crippled body from earlier on in the night. Eve then tries to run out to attack her, but the referee blocks her. Maurice is one of the best bits of Raw. Alicia and Gail Kim are then at the commentary desk as Zack Ryder is randomly in the ring. First time we've seen him on this show. Ryder says he's now single and invited the ladies to come out and watch him tonight. The guest host then appears on the screen and says that he's got a special match for him. Mark Henry then comes out with a beautiful smile on his face. Jim, the King Lawler, is not watching the match and is checking out the ladies instead. Old school King. Zack Ryder hits the Rough Rider, but Mark Henry kicks out of this. Zack Ryder looks like a young Heath Slater here. Mark Henry hits the world's strongest slam, and it's over. About 1 minute. I wonder what Gail Kim was thinking while watching this. Mark Henry then leaves with both the ladies. This surely can't be all they have for Gail Kim. Jericho and The Miz are backstage, both complaining that they've both been punched by the Big Show recently. They share stories about how annoying the Big Show is and talk about his snoring. Well, what did they do? Share beds with him or something? Somewhere else backstage, Kozlov is looking annoyed. He's talking to the guest host when Santino walks in with an afro wig on. I have no idea what Santino's talking about. Regal walks in and tells Vladimir to ignore him. First appearance for Regal on this show too, I believe. I think Santino wants to team up with Vladimir, or something along those lines, I have no idea. Goldust then randomly appears for another first appearance on this series. Jericho and The Miz are at the commentary desk next as the unified tag team champions are out. The Happy Heart Dynasty. They'll be taking on Regal and Kozlov, who are already in the ring. I forgot these guys were ever a team. Kozlov cripples Tyson Kidd from the top to the outside, and I think he legitimately hurts him here. Back in the ring, Kozlov hits a fall-away slam on Tyson Kidd. Tyson Kidd fights back with a dropkick to Regal's face, and then the Bulldog son gets the tag and then he taps out Regal with the sharpshooter. The Miz and Jericho then attack the Hart Dynasty, and they look like twins. Let's catch up to see what's going on with TNA. Back in TNA world, Tara's bitching to Christy Hemme that she doesn't get any respect, and she challenges Madison to a match for the title at the pay-per-view. Christy says that Tara doesn't deserve a shot because she hasn't won any matches lately. Tara says that she'll put her career on the line if Madison gives her a shot. Tara can't catch a break since losing her title in that lockbox match. The Dudley Boys are out next, and the Guns and Beer Money don't even get their entrances shown. Always so much crammed into these shows. The Guns are so fast and beat up James Storm. The crowd love them. Beer Money start cheating to get the advantage. They hit the Beer Money suplex. Then there's a double down after Devon was in the match for about 2 minutes. I guess he really doesn't do much cardio. Bubba then gets the tag and beats Beer Money up. 3D then hit the What's Up. Suddenly Kevin Nash and a man who looks like Elvis wander out to the ring. They beat down Team 3D and the match is thrown out. Eric Young then runs out of a kendo stick and hits Team 3D with it. He then two-sweets the band, so I guess he's joined them. The Guns randomly attack the band for no reason. Beer Money then run back into the match and hit the DWI. Beer Money and the band join up and celebrate. What a tag division they had at this time. Dave Penzer on a pole then screams, "Welcome to the Ozone." Oh god, I forgot about this. It's the debut of Orlando Jordan's talk show. Orlando talks about how much he's in love with Rob Terry. He brings out Rob the Roider, or does he? It's just a cutout of Rob Terry, although it's just as bland and boring as the real life Rob Terry. Orlando starts talking about how perfect Rob Terry's body is, and he loves his bulges. I don't know how anyone could possibly enjoy this segment. Taz says, "How long is this going to go for?" The crowd are booing. Orlando Jordan says, "Who do you fancy about tonight, Rob Terry?" and then pretends that Rob says he fantasizes about him. The real Rob Terry then runs out and knocks Orlando Jordan down, and he destroys the cutout. He tells Jordan, "Don't make me come back," and celebrates like an idiot. Jordan then attacks him from behind and chokes him out of a chain. Jordan then slams a pot on him, and it's over. What a great debut talk show that was. My two least favourite wrestlers in one place at the same time. Back to the last bit of Raw. They announced that the guest host for Raw next week would be Flavor Flav. Wow, a guest that I've actually heard of. Shame I won't be watching it. Edge will end the show tonight with his Cutting Edge talk show segment. Edge gives an explanation as to why he cost Randy Orton his match last week. He justifies the attack as an act of defiance. He didn't want to be drafted to Raw. Edge goes on to bring out Randy Orton, but then Wayne Brady comes out instead. He says he wants to see what it's like to be a WWE superstar. He threatens all the guest hosts and cuts a promo, and then Randy Orton comes out. Orton is gorming out, so Wayne Brady tries to see if he's okay, so Orton nails him with the RKO. Edge is scared of Orton and is begging him
him not to attack him. Edge says that he wants to reform their tag team rated RKO. Randy doesn't respond and he starts gritting his teeth and looking like he's going to go nuts. Edge rants that the audience didn't accept him and says he's jealous that the audience liked Randy Orton. Edge keeps complaining and saying everything is not fair. Edge says that he will spear Orton every week unless he agrees to team up with him. Orton refuses to speak and then he tries to hit the RKO, but Edge reverses it and kicks him in the face. Edge then goes for the spear, but Randy catches him with the RKO. So I guess this is a feud now over Randy Orton's popularity. It's over. There were no good matches on Raw tonight, but it was at least nice to see some fresh faces on the show. Let's catch the last part of the TNA show. The following is taken from 15 minutes of the TNA show. Believe it or not, I don't know how they fit all this into such a little time. AJ is coming out to fight the Idiot Abyss in the Monsters Ball match. These two have had some excellent matches in the past. Abyss comes out of a trash can full of weapons. He has the Hulk Hogan theme music. I forgot to talk about this before. God, I hated Abyssomania. AJ tries to springboard Abyss on the ramp. AJ then throws a trash can at Abyss, and Abyss doesn't care about this and throws AJ overhead into the ring. Abyss then sets up a chair in the corner and kicks AJ in the face. AJ blocks a steel chair shot and then Abyss whacks him in the face. What a punch. AJ then hits the Pele kick and gets on top of Abyss. AJ tries to mount some form of offense, but Abyss throws him back into the air. AJ then charges into the steel chair in the corner like an idiot. Abyss hits the shock treatment backbreaker but can only get a 2. Abyss brings the dumb tax into the ring. Flair then suddenly comes out to the ring dragging Chelsea in a trench coat. Flair is screaming, "Take your clothes off." Abyss is distracted and AJ hits him with the steel chair. AJ then hits him with the brass knuckles and then springboards into the ring into the tax. He then pins Abyss for the 3. Chelsea then takes her coat off, but she's not in lingerie unfortunately. Not a single replay is shown and it's straight into the main event. As if by magic, Desmond Wolfe is in the ring straight away. He doesn't get his entrance shown. I think you can predict how this one's about to go down, as the world champion No Job Rob comes out. Desmond kicks RVD before he can get into the ring. Wolfe smashes him into the ring pole and then throws him in the ring. Wolfe then batters RVD in the corner and gets a 2 count. Wolfe then hits a hammerlock drop on RVD for another 2. Tenay says that they had around 500,000 votes on the fan poll, but they still don't acknowledge that Wolfe won. They then say that they're listening to the fans. I'm not sure they are really. Wolfe starts showboating and then RVD kicks him from the top and hits the Rolling Thunder. Wolfe then tries to hit the Tower of London in the corner, but decides to try and do it on the outside for some stupid reason. RVD reverses it and kicks him down the entrance ramp. He then back body drops Wolfe into the ring. 5-star frog splash. Bish bash bosh. It's over. 3 minutes at the most. Thanks for coming, Desmond Wolfe. You will never have another world title shot in TNA. AJ then flies out of nowhere and attacks RVD. AJ screams that they will be having a rematch for the title at the pay-per-view. The Hawkster then comes out to end the show because of course he does. He gets on the mic and calls out Steve Borden. The Hawk asks Sting what makes him tick. Sting is talking in riddles again. Sting talks about how much he loves the company. A good promo from the Hawk to be fair. He brings up everyone Sting has attacked over the last few weeks, but Sting doesn't really explain anything. Sting threatens Hogan with his big black bat. Unfortunately, he doesn't hit him with it, and then Jeff Jarrett runs out to attack him. Apparently, Jarrett and Sting will be fighting at the pay-per-view. When was that ever announced? I guess they just did it now. The Hawk stops Jarrett from hurting Sting too much with the bat, and then the show suddenly ends. What a 15 minutes. I don't know what to say, it's crazy how different this show is to Raw, and modern day wrestling for that matter. So many in-ring segments and promos, and so many rushed matches. This show is perfect for anyone with ADD, who struggles to concentrate for long. Has anyone ever asked Vince Russo if he has ADD? Let's do the ratings for one final time. Raw scored a 3.05 down on last week. TNA scored a 0.8, which is at least better than their catastrophe last week. During 2009, TNA was averaging a 1.14 rating, but during the Monday Night Wars, only the opening episode of the war got over a 1.0. TNA lost roughly 7% of their audience. Interestingly, Raw also lost around 6% of their audience during this time. So that's how the Monday Night War ends. A fan poll where the fans got screwed, an Orlando Jordan talk show segment with him leering at a Rob Terry cutout, 10 minutes of wrestling action, strange feuds over nothing, Sting talking in riddles for the 8th week in a row. As usual, it's extremely entertaining, but it's hard to keep up with anything that's happening. TNA bailed out and went back to Thursdays after this. I thought it might be interesting to do a bit of analysis before we bring this series to a close. Obviously the Hawk was all over the show and so was Eric Bischoff, but who was pushed the strongest and which wrestler had the most TV time? We had 2 TNA World Champions during the Monday Night Wars. AJ Styles to start with, and then they switched the belt to RVD. Let the Hawk tell you something, there's a reason he's called No Job Rob. Because during the Monday Night Wars, RVD, 9 wins, 0 defeats. Yet they never mentioned that he was undefeated. Do you know who else was undefeated? The Beautiful People. They won 7 matches. Sex sells, or it doesn't in TNA's case. Okay, so Rob did the best, but who did the worst? The answer is, surprise surprise, Desmond Wolfe. 5 defeats and only 1 win. It's clear that someone didn't think much of him in the TNA office. 2 people managed to hold on to their belts for the entire Monday Night Wars. That was Rob Terry, who was the TV champion and defended it twice. Great TV champion right there. And Matt Morgan, who won the tag team championship and held it on his own for most of the Monday Night War. Yeah, great when you have such amazing tag teams, but instead you've got Matt Morgan as the sole champion. It ultimately comes down to who had the most TV time matches and promos. I'm not going to go back and watch all of it and time it all out because that would be pure insanity, but I'd say that Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff and Ric Flair spent the most minutes on the screen. I'm starting to see why TNA lost. Do you know what else is interesting? To see who else was on the TNA roster at this time. They had a huge roster. Did you know that they had the following wrestlers during this time? Deep breath please. Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, LAX, Okada, Raven, the Young Bucks, Magnus, the Amazing Red, Rhino, Kiyoshi, Tomko, and Stevie Richards. And the majority of those wrestlers didn't make a single appearance. TNA definitely had the best roster at the time. It could have been so good. So what could TNA have done differently? Well, not letting Scott Steiner leave because of the Hawk for one. I'm kidding, but we did miss Steiner during this Monday Night War. Trying to go head to head with Raw during WrestleMania season is probably the biggest mistake. I'd also say that there were too many short matches on Impact and long promos. This might have worked in the 90s, but internet fans were becoming the majority, and they wanted to see more wrestling on their product. They had also differed too much from the perfect balance of wrestling and talking that they had around 2007. There were also too many older wrestlers that were featured, especially at the start of the Monday Night War. This turned new fans off straight away, and they never came back to watch. I'm just going to round this series off by saying they didn't have a clear goal for branding. They were basically WWE, but they had too much action squashed in. They had a chance to be different and push some new faces like the Pope or Desmond Wolfe as main eventers, but they blew it. Right when the fans wanted to see these guys, TNA had so much talent and the management clearly let them down, and they turned them into a laughingstock when they lost the Monday Night War. They also didn't have the budget that WWE had. That's a big factor. Almost left that one out. I think WWE was slightly concerned at the very start of the war, like the first 2 episodes they put on, they really did try, but by the end of it they didn't give a damn. They had Wade Barrett and Daniel Bryan fighting matches. These guys were not established stars at the time. It was clear to them that they'd won the war at this point. I hope you enjoyed this series. Go back and watch it all when you get a chance. I've banged a playlist out, and wish me good luck with copyright issues.